All right. Excuse me. We are live. Welcome back, everyone. J-Bone here for Smash This Podcast. Coming at you on a Sunday night to discuss this new chapter. It really is a whole it's like I just tweeted out. It feels like a whole new series. It really does. It feels like we know most of the characters. There's some new ones. But honestly, with this time jump and how people have obviously, some of them have drastically evolved in 6 years, this honestly feels almost like watching Fear the Walking Dead, like a brand new show. Um, so I think this is a great way for this YouTube channel to really get back in the swing of things. And yeah, I've been sporadic at best on reviewing these. I was, a steady reviewer for the longest time, and then I just got away from the show. Obviously, still watched it, just stopped reviewing it for whatever was going on in my goofy head. But I feel like this is a great time as a fan, still obviously a fan of the show, to get back into reviewing it on a regular basis. It's this. Last week was such a kick in the ass. It was hard to watch emotionally. I watched a few different reaction reviews, while they're reacting while they're watching it. And what was and I don't watch all her reviews. That I can't think of her name. I think her name is Meg. She reviews all the Walking Dead stuff, and it was hard watching some of those, honestly, watching the show, because the emotion is real. The fans' emotions are the most real thing you're ever going to know that's tied to this show. Fans love this show, and the emotions are real. And like I expressed last week, and now seeing how people are living with this time jump is even more interesting. The first thing we witness, and I'm going to kind of just jump all over the place here as far as scenes and reactions to the time jump. The first one we obviously get is Michonne. And she's having a conversation with Rick and it takes us a while to figure out where she is, because then as she's leaving, they pan the background and you figure out where she was, which is so... that throws a ton of emotion in how she was talking then to what is in her head the last memoriam type thing, the last place she saw him. So obviously she's going to go back there and talk to him, or, release emotions, or, how people cope when they lose someone. I'd have to go back and watch that again and listen to exactly what she was saying. But as she was talking, we got glimpses from other people and how they were moving on with their life, just living. So like I said, the first one is Michonne by the bridge talking to, Rick out loud. It's her own memoriam place for him, is that bridge. She probably goes there a lot, is my guess. um and it's not that far away from Alexandria, I don't think. um we also see Carol with the long hair with Ezekiel still, and later on we see in the episode that they have really, whereas right before Rick's passing, she was real hesitant. Like, you could tell she had emotions, but she had a real struggle with showing them, or A, showing them, and B, letting him know exactly how she felt, communicating those feelings. And now she's obviously really a lot more comfortable with him. She's with him. I'm assuming at the kingdom, and they now are taking care of Henry, which is also a tremendous story, like the real life story of who this kid is playing this part. And that's revealed on The Talking Dead. I'll get to that in a bit. We also see a whole new, I'll say, sad version of Daryl. He looks like like Mountain Man Daryl. Like he's just totally gone back to the wild. um, I think Carol finding him is going to bring him back to a little bit of reality. I think a little bit of love from Carol, and I don't mean in a romantic way, just in a friendship, an old friendship way, is going to do a lot for Daryl, because I think we can assume that when they all lost Rick, and I say they all because it's not just Michonne, it's everybody looking to Rick for that leadership role, or a brother role like Daryl did, or a friendship role, or whatever role Rick played in their lives. When Daryl lost Rick, he lost another brother. And that was probably, I mean, he was already on the edge of a change in his own timeline before they lost Rick. His emotions were real about what was going on between the different camps, and he already had a mindset someplace else. He was already thinking forward to being away from everyone. I think he was slowly disconnecting from everyone. And now with the death of Rick, that cemented that pulling away from everything and anything family like he knew. Excuse me. So let's talk about that kid Henry. He's now calling Carol mom. And I think I heard him call Ezekiel dad. I think I did. But I know I heard him call Carol mom. One thing they revealed on The Talking Dead, which was really interesting, was the kid that's playing Henry is actually the older brother of Henry from before the time jump. And So they're brothers in real life, and their sister was Sophia from season 1 and 2. So that's really interesting that 3 kids from that family have had and are playing roles, past and current roles on The Walking Dead. I think that's amazing. Like Carol said in that interview on The Talking Dead, can you imagine family get-togethers later on in life when they're talking about, yeah, we all remember when we were on The Walking Dead, and that's to be a fly on the wall in a family conversation like that. That's crazy. And imagine how much older Sophia is now. That's wild. Because that was several seasons ago, several years ago. That was what, 8 years ago, crazy. What is next here? I know a lot of people know about this new group that came in because of the comic books, but I'm not a comic book guy. I'm a TV series guy. I don't know a lot about this new group as far as how far you can trust them and all this kind of stuff. They seem pretty genuine. They seem pretty real as far as they don't seem like they would deceive you right off the bat. I think Magna, the girl with the knives, I think that's what her name was, Magna. I don't think. I think I think she is rough around the edges because of her past, but I think she's just a little more straight up defensive as opposed to some of the others, which proves the rough around the edges. But seeing, and I found out because this guy is going to be on The Talking Dead next week, is Luke, who's the music teacher. It took me till the end of The Talking Dead to find out the guy's name, but I think I got everybody. It's Magna was the one with the knives. Luke is the music teacher, I believe it was. Connie is the deaf girl. Kelly is the girl who is helping her, but she's also hard of hearing. So to have two, we'll say, I don't know, they call it, it's politically correct here, a physical handicap. Am I allowed to say that without pissing off anyone? I mean, it's not intentional by any means. To have 2 people with a hearing disability on the show is amazing, and I don't know how they compare to the 2 in the comic book. I'm going to have to do a little research on that. I'm sure I could watch a couple other reviews and see how close it ties in with the comic book. So Magna, Luke, Connie, Kelly, and then the injured girl, I think Bernie, I think that's her name. I might be a little off there, but I think that's what her name is. So, and I know I'm jumping fast forward here. The scenes with the council and then the eventual change, Michonne changing her mind after listening to her daughter, Judith, her daughter. It's still kind of weird to think of her as her daughter, but she is, she's playing the mother part here, because families evolve, it's the truth. So after really listening to how Judith is, and how Judith is so like a combination of Carl and Rick, it's amazing. It really is. The writing is so well done. It's crazy. That hashtag little ass kicker, all growing up quick on the show is just wow. So okay, so we get now that she's 11. it was kind of hard to tell last episode at the end there exactly how old she was and what exactly was going on. So through different different conversations with different people, was able to change the mind of Michonne. Oh, and a little bit of honesty from Magna to Michonne, turning in that last knife. That spoke volumes with Michonne. Because I think if that was found later, or say one of Magna's group turned it in and said, hey, she didn't turn in this one, I wanted to let you know about it, something like that happening, it came from Magna. So I think that said a lot to Michonne's character. So just, Michonne talking to everyone, I think changed a lot of minds. And obviously Michonne is a good chunk of the decision making that goes on in Alexandria. Obviously, there is a new council set that we see play out right in front of this new group, which was very interesting. Now, we don't know all the characters on the council. We know a majority of them, though. So that was interesting. It was just cool to see Michonne go from hell no to, all right, we're not going to keep you, but you changed my mind enough to, okay, here's what we're going to do with you. So they decide in the long run that they're going to take them to, is it Hilltop? They're going to take them to Hilltop. And we don't know the condition of Hilltop yet. That's going to be a whole new, well, I guess you could say adventure in the next episode. Because we're seeing all this like a brand new show, this whole 6-year jump with everybody changing and evolving after Rick's death. I mean, it really is a timestamp. It's crazy. How were you before Rick's death? How were you after Rick's death? How messed up are you after Rick's death in some cases? So that's going to be interesting. What's next on here? Let's, it was interesting to see Rosita and Father Gabriel as would presume to be a couple now, whereas in the last episode it was Jadis and Father Gabriel. I think a lot of reactions were, wow, Father Gabriel really gets around. You have to remember, this is a 6-year jump. It could have taken 5+ years to get to that point, and this could have been very recent. We don't know. This is maybe something we'll find out over the next few or several episodes of how this happened. They may do a little flip-flop time jumping back and forth to see how they evolved. We don't know yet. I don't think they're going to, but we'll see. So that's interesting. What's also interesting, before we get into the whole herd thing, is how Eugene is reacting to Rosita's. And this must be a new relationship just because of how Eugene reacted. Like, hey, there are some other people out there that probably feel the same way about you. Not naming names, of course, awkwardly. And she's not stupid. She's not stupid. She's spent a lot of the last several years with Eugene, way before Rick, with Abraham. They were quite the trio. And how Eugene used to watch them, Abraham and Rosita being having sex, being intimate, and which is funny. And Eugene is still Eugene as far as the brain, as far as the smarts. What's drastically different in this time jump is Eugene turned into over the course of the last 6 years, Eugene turned into a badass and now has a ponytail that goes almost all the way down his back. That's crazy. As far as like the hair length thing, you saw a big change with Carol. You definitely saw a big change with Eugene. Eugene's got the braid that goes down his back. So he's got like, what would you say? Like the world's biggest mullet if he unbraided it. I mean, the braid's cool. It's just interesting seeing the braid. It was like, wow. So, I mean, he took out, what, 4 or 5 walkers by himself? That was amazing. Whereas before, it'd be like, hey, can you get this one? With a tremendous amount of hesitation. And he just took them all out. Well, not all of them, but, you know, a good chunk of them as they came across the new Magnus group. So Eugene is a new badass. And then as they're working on this whole setting up the radio, expanding it, they're right in the middle of getting this done. And Rosita sees, oh no, excuse me. Eugene sees the herd, yells down to Rosita, and so he's trying to hurry up, get down the ladder. Drops his bag, forgets it. Hey, Racist Fan Rocks is in the chat. Hello. Good evening to you. How you doing? We're just reviewing some Walking Dead over here. And he loses control of the ladder, drops several feet, what we can assume is between 10 to 20 feet-ish. And good evening. Doing good, you. I'm doing good. I'm excited. Starting a new job tomorrow. We just got done watching some Walking Dead, so I'm on here. This will be my last late evening review, probably for a while, unless I do some super late ones like after work, but we'll see how work goes first. But that's all starting tomorrow night. So I figured I'd get on here one last normal time in the evening and do this. So he wrecks his, what we're assuming his knee or his ankle or something. She grabs, was it a shovel or a spade or something for him to use as a crutch to help him hobble away. And they're just not gaining enough ground away from the walkers. And he stops and he's trying to like talk to her about, hey, I'm slowing you down, but I want to tell you one last thing before I give myself up to them while you get away safely. And she's just like, shut up. Don't make this weird. We're going to get out of this. So then they make it down this ravine, cover themselves up with gook and mud down by this creek as the herd goes past. And as the herd is going past, some of it's a little inaudible. I'm sure I'll find out by watching someone else's review exactly what they saw. But one of them was, don't let them get away. The parts before that were a little weird. Racist Fan Rocks in the chat says, I know this is The Walking Dead. Love the show, but after the review, I have a good idea for a sponsor. I can help. Season 5. Oh, you're talking about some lucha. A good sponsor? Okay. Well, they already got the what is that? The Pizza Bites and Modelo. We know those are two sure ones that they already have. Honestly, the more I hear about that show, though, I don't know if it's coming back. I'm keeping my hopes up, though. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Um, let's see here. So yeah, that was creepy. Seeing the herd go after Rosita and Eugene. So seeing in the next, I mean, this is all the big reveal. I think is going to be at the end of 2 episodes from now. We got 2 more episodes before the big season break. Before the holiday season is when they always break and go. They'll be back. Usually back around Valentine's Day, I think, is usually around the time they come back. Something like that. A couple months after Christmas. And then we'll really get the introduction as far as characters and how the Whispers are going. And from what I've heard about the Whisperers, it's really horrible as far as what kind of people these are. In fact, some of the stuff I'm hearing, I'm a little scared to see how they're going to pull it off on television. I don't want to give anything away, but it's going to be crazy. So yeah. So Rosita's with Father Gabriel. Rosita and Eugene are getting away from the herd. What's next here? Oh, this was a crazy section of the show. And it was nice that this episode was a little longer because there was so much to look at and so much to learn about this group after this time jump. Obviously, people want to see as much as they can. People are curious as far as how this whole group has evolved after 6 years. Carol going on a run with Henry, and they run into the Saviors. The Saviors 6 years later, oh my God, do they look rough. And obviously not too many left of them, about a dozen or so, if that. They basically look like, what was that group that attacked them a few seasons ago? Oh, the Wolves. All covered in just grimy looking people, just rough looking. Like they really let themselves go. I mean, they were pretty well organized, clean looking people. They might have been douchebags as people, but but yeah, they really they've gone through some hell. So they lure in Carol and Henry, take the food they have, and then they even take Carol's ring. What the hell? I mean, I can't imagine, stuff like food and water and household basics, I would imagine have a lot more wealth in the apocalypse than a stone on a ring. I can't. I mean, it's like trying to it's like robbing him of money. What is money worth in the apocalypse? Nothing. Commerce is dead. You're down to the days of the wild, wild west. And they had money back then, but they did a lot more trading back then than I think spending, especially out west. It was a different world back then, and now the world is that. The world is reduced to that again. So, and I think Henry was upset at Carol for not, maybe defending herself more. Carol was more worried about just protecting Henry as a mother. So then Carol, old killer Carol, I think some old Carol ways kick in. She douses the group with gasoline, and just as what's his name? Jed? Just as Jed, or is it Zed? I think it's Jed. Just as Jed wakes up, she lights the match that was in Jed's mouth. Toosh! The whole group just goes up in flames, and she just walks away. So, and I instantly thought of that little conversation between Bruce Willis and his girlfriend in Pulp Fiction, as awkward as that is, because I was thinking it was Zed. I think it was Jed. Who's Jed? Jed's dead, baby. Poof. Up in smoke. Crazy. So yeah, I don't know, and I don't know if that's it for the Saviors. If that was the very last of them after like 6 years, I don't know. But I'm sure there's a lot more to learn the rest of the season as far as who's still around, who's evolved into what. Let's see what else. Was shown just taking the new group to the hilltop. I think that's pretty much it that I wanted to cover on here. Oh, Michonne finding the trinket of what then keeps popping up throughout the whole episode, what looks like a little figurine of Rick. Excuse me. Michonne found it, but when she got back to Alexandria, she was distracted. She threw the bag, which sent the figure flying, but Judith found it, and she started, I think the connection was pretty instant. She saw what it was, and she knew, she was thinking about her dad. I think she still has vague memories, even though she had that conversation with Michonne about halfway through the episode, talking about starting to forget voices. And that's kind of sad, But when you're that young, it's hard to place stuff like that, especially in a traumatic lifestyle that they all live in. So, everybody grows up with, I think, a certain amount of PTSD, and that just kind of helps, stuff not stick in your brain the way it should. The important stuff, So, an amazing time jump episode. And it's also interesting, how the first couple seasons of the show, the walkers were the focal point of the enemy. Then as the show evolved, people at certain times, not always, but at certain times became the focal point of being the enemy, whether it was the governor or Negan or, I'm trying to think of the cannibals. I can't think of their names. But anyways, and then other times the herd of walkers coming through at a certain time of the series was a focal point. Now, granted, we're dealing with the Whisperers, but the walkers are now slowly becoming the focal point of being, public enemy number one, period. End of subject. You got thousands of walkers heading your direction. It's all about survival at this point. So, yeah. It's going to get nuts the last couple episodes. And then seeing what happens the second half of season 9 I can't even imagine. I mean, I didn't read the comic books, and I know not everything is the same in the comics as it is on the show. But yeah, it's gonna be nuts. So if you tuned in for this, I know I'm one of many reviewing this show. I'm doing my best to get back into the swing of things as far as reviewing this on a regular basis again. Obviously, it's only for a couple more episodes, and then we've got a few month break, but we will see. What the new year brings. 2019 is going to be interesting for a lot of different things. So yeah, thanks for watching. Can't wait to see how this this leads up to the mid-season of the middle part of season 9 and how that's going to wrap up. And we'll be reviewing it. All right, so I hope you tune in, and we'll see you down the road real soon.